Hello guys, and welcome back to the channel. I know it's been a very long time since I've posted anything or uploaded anything to YouTube. And just to inform you, I got a mic, so there shouldn't be any complaining about that. Okay, so to get started, I am going to go through the DJI Fly App for the mini series, the DJI Air series, so that app that controls those drones. So let's get to it. So the first thing you should see on your screen is a photo of your drone. Once it's detected, make sure that your controller is on and make sure that your drone is on. And you should see this photo on your screen. So after you see this photo, you can tap Go Fly right there, and then now you see me. So this is where the drone is setting right now, and that's what it's looking at. As you can see right here, the top left corner, it says unable to take off, no GPS. The reason for that is because I am indoors and it's not really detecting any satellites right now. But if I was to go outside, it would. And then left of that, you have N mode, and that's just telling you basically what mode you're in. So there's normal. If you look at your controller, there's 3 modes. There's Cine mode, normal, and sport. And later in this video, I'll also teach you how to set your gimbal tilt speed and things like that for these specific settings. Right now, they're at your default, so I'll teach you how to change that manually yourself if you don't like it how it is. And then to the bottom of that, you have your maps. So the little corner right there, bottom left corner, and you just tap that, and then it should show you where your GPS signal is, where you are in the drone, but it can't detect where my phone is and my drone because I'm indoors, not outside. And it would look like this if you don't have your phone data on. So if you don't have no phone data on, then it won't show you like a satellite or basically anything. It only shows you what airports are nearby. So those are like preloaded into this software. So I'm going to do that right now. I'm just going to swipe down and turn on my data right now. And see, now it popped up. Okay, and there's one more thing on the left side of the screen, and it's that takeoff button. You can press that right now, and your phone would pre-warn you. Do you want to take off? It tells you altitude and stuff like that. But you can also do it manually, which I like doing instead of having the computer do it. So to start off manually, all you have to do is press these 2 sticks in, like inwards, like this, and down, and those would prop the motors on. But currently, right now, since I'm indoors, no GPS, this drone actually won't fly unless if it has a signal GPS, and I believe that's a new update. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's everything you should know for the left side of the screen. Now to get to the right side of the screen, let me teach you how to do that. Okay, so next we have the top right hand corner of the screen, right there where you see it says 56. That's actually indicating what your battery percentage is. So you can actually click that, and it can tell you the until the RTH, which basically means how much time you have left until you can come back. So if you're out there flying for 5 minutes, then it'll tell you how much more time you have until it will automatically come back to you. And then there's also right underneath that until forced landing. Basically, if your battery is critically low, it will force land itself. So if you're over water, it's going to go in the water. So make sure it's beeping at 20. You want to try to come back. Even though there's a lot of more power in there, DJI just wants to basically make sure you're still safe when you're in the air with your drone. So just come back when it's at 20, or anytime sooner if you'd want. And under that, we also have until battery depleted. So that's until it will basically die and it won't even turn on. That's how much time you have completely in the air or even on. So, and then right next to that we have the time actually. So right next to the percentage where it says 0000, that is the approximate time you have in the air. So usually when I take off around here, it says 21 minutes, 21, 23 minutes when I first start flying. And the more smoother you are when you're flying, the more it kind of gradually, slowly goes down. But if you're revving it up, going in sport mode and all that, it's obviously going to go down in time, probably even 13 minutes right when you start flying. The next thing right next to that is your RC signal. Basically the connection from your controller to your drone. And then right next to that we have what's red, no GPS signal. So there's no satellites hitting on this drone, and it's probably because I have it under my loft bed and under my house. So that's probably why. I don't know. And then right next to that we have 3 little dots, but that we're going to get into that soon, but not quite yet. There's a lot in there, so let's go all the way to the bottom. So all the way to the bottom we have bottom right corner, we have the Pro mode where it says Pro, or it might say Auto. I actually have it set to Pro, so if you click that you can switch it to Pro if you're already in Auto, or Auto to Pro. And Auto will basically set everything for you, your aperture, your video, ISO, all that kind of stuff. So you press that, and if you don't want to mess with the shutter speed and ISO, then it will do that. So if you do want to change it manually yourself, go ahead and press it until it says Pro right there, and then right next to that you have the ISO, and you can change that. So right now it's set to 1600. I can bump it up all the way to 3200. Right next to that we have the shutter speed. So currently it's at 40. The slowest you can go at is 30, and the highest is 8000, which now you can't see anything on the screen because that's too much. And left and to the left of that we have the video. So there's 4K, and in 4K you can do 30 frames, and just swipe with your finger. Whoops. Just swipe with your finger on that screen, or you can tap it. But in 4K you have 24 frames, 25, and 30. In 2.7K you have 24, 25, 30, 48, 50, and 60. As you can see in the video, because I went to a higher frame rate, it dropped down a little bit when it came to the shadows and the highlights, and that's because you're playing at a higher FPS. So we can go up to 1080p, same thing, 60, 50, and 48. If you're planning on shooting in 60 frames per second, you might as well shoot in 2.7K. This is just, recommendation. And then down-res it in post if you're planning on doing that, just because they both shoot at 60 frames per second. So next to that is the white balance, so you can change it yourself. Right now I have it set to auto, and actually when I'm out in the field I usually do change this. So just turn that off. You just tap it, the auto button right there, and you can swipe to whatever you see best. So obviously down is going to be colder, up it's going to be more warm. So actually in this environment it's actually doing pretty well when it came to the auto. Let's see where it goes back to, 5000. Yeah, so I'd have it a little bit more warmer right there. So that's how you change that. And then right below that to the left is how much time you have on your SD card. So instead of telling you how much space you have there, it tells you how much more time you have to record. So if I was to press the record button, which I will right now, and then it starts to drop a little bit. So you see 1, and now it's saying I have 34 minutes left and 56 seconds, and it keeps going lower and lower, and it says I have 5 hours. So 5 hours, 34 minutes, and 50 seconds, and that's going to keep dropping. And then I close out of that, and that's my remaining time I have left on my specific SD card. I have a 128 gig in there currently. So that is everything on this screen besides the 3 dots on the top right corner, and now we're going to get into that. So we're going to press that right now, and the first setting that you should get to is the safety. So this is everything for the safety of the drone, or potentially people too. So you scroll all the way to the top if you're not already there, and you have flight protection. So max altitude, so when you're out on the field, you can set how high you want to fly this drone. So legally in US we can only fly 400 unless we're going 400 over a certain object or a certain building, 400 feet away from it. So that's why they actually have this here, so you can adjust that. But the max altitude on the Mini is 1,640 feet, period. So if you go anything higher than that, it will stop you. Don't ask me because I haven't tried it. And the max distance is basically unlimited, so as far as it can go until it unreaches the signal. So you can set that to the maximum of 16,400 feet, and then there's no limit, or you can go all the way down to 65. I think it went lower, 65 feet. So that's basically nothing. That's like flying a toy drone, close to you at 65 feet. The next thing we have is auto RTH altitude. So I would actually set this high. If you're in a flat area like a valley or something and it's really flat, you can do the maximum of 400. But if you're at the ocean or something like that, these sensors aren't really well at detecting the water as being flat. It detects really kind of through it sometimes. So I would up that to about 500 or 550 just for the safety of the drone even getting up to 400 as its max. Or you can set it to 400, but sometimes it does detect the water as, detecting through it with its sensors. Next that we have the update home point. So when you do click that, right now I can't because I'm not within a GPS signal for my drone. But when you do click that, you can update where you're currently at. There's 2 settings. You can do where you took off at or where your current phone GPS setting is at. Next to that we have the sensors. So compass is normal, but you can calibrate it. So if you do press calibrate, you have to clear all the objects, as it says here, and you can start. So rotate it, and the calibration is successful. So if it does see something as a calibration error, then you would want to do that right there. And same with this calibration too. If it says the IMU is uncalibrated, you can do it that way, and you can press start and do that too. Usually you don't have to worry about those as a beginner or pro drone pilot. This is all by DJI. So the next thing we have is unlock GeoZone. So sometimes you might be flying within an airport, and if you're licensed, you can unlock that geo zone, or even if you're not a licensed drone pilot. So enable to do that, you would click it, and you can either do it on your phone, but usually when you're there on site and you have data, it will tell you, would you like to unlock it? You say yes. Asks you, are you responsible for everything you're operating? You say yes, yes, yes. and then you start to go flying, and they put that in their record. That is one way, or you can check what ones you have by visiting the DJI official website for unlocking this geozone. There's drones out there that don't have geofencing, and sadly, those drones won't be able to be put in the sky much longer until 2023. That's a whole nother subject, but all drones will need remote ID, as they call it, to start flying starting 2023. So the next thing we have is aeroscope. So if you tap on that, that's exactly what this is. So this is to remote identification, allows observers on the ground to track where an aircraft is flying and who is potentially piloting it. So this is basically like a license plate. In other words, this is your remote identification when you're flying. So when you have these turned on, you can pick what your identification is and flight information and all that good stuff for other pilots in the sky, manned pilots, so they know where you're flying. So if there's helicopters which want to fly 400 or a little bit lower, which have in my area, specifically police trying to find a lost person or something like that, they usually fly. And actually one time I tried to do a drone map, and that happened, so I had to retreat my mapping process. So that is one good thing that you can use while you're flying. Let other people know if there's a lot of planes or helicopters nearby, they can be able to see who's all nearby. The next thing we have is find my drone. So my GPS is off, so we won't be able to find it. But once you do click that, if you have your GPS on, and if you have the drone's GPS on, or if you're trying to find it and you crash in the water, well, it's only going to tell you where it last had signal with your controller. So it only tell you the last spot where it crashed at. But it will tell you a really good and accurate location of where the drone is and where the connection was last. Next, we have battery. You press that, and you can actually it actually shows you the individual cell voltage, which is really nice for geeks out there like me that like to see the voltage of the battery. It's way more than just a percentage, because percentage can just change all the time. Everybody has a different viewpoint on percentage. So with voltage, this is like way more accurate. So you got 3.87 volts. This is actually a lot. So more than 50%. In my terms, let's see what it says. So 47. So but when you're flying for DJI drones and these batteries, they do drain a lot quicker than other batteries. So that's one reason why they want you to usually stop, and when you land, you should have 3.7 volts at about 20%. So right below that, we have the battery serial number. There's just a serial number of the battery. I don't know, DJI might ask you if you have like a busted battery and you have a warranty on your drone or something. They might ask you that, but that's there. Next is battery times charged. So how many times your battery has been charged? This one's 6 times. And the production date, 2021, in the 3rd month. And the battery voltage together right there is 7.73. That's also something nice to see. And your battery temperature, 47 Celsius. So if it's hot outside and you've been flying your drone for a lot and you haven't given it a break, and if that Celsius is really high, because these don't have fans, you should land, okay, and do your drone a favor. Just land, and so you don't, your drone doesn't fall out of the sky or something like that, or your battery, might explode in there. I don't know. Next, we have the advanced settings, safety settings. You can press that. So it gives you 3 options for the signal loss. You can return home, you can descend, or hover. And no, you don't get to do that. The drone gets to do that, okay? So when you press return to home, the signal is lost. You're like, oh my goodness. I've been flying, and I knew that the video transmission wasn't showing up, but I didn't mind that. So now you lost your drone, right? Well, not really. You can return back to home. So, like I was mentioning earlier, that return back to home feature where you can adjust the height, how many feet you can go up. It's really nice to have it really high because depending on where you're at, your environment, you don't want this thing running into anything. Like the Mavic Series and the Phantom 4, let's see, there it is right there. They have sensors on them, so when they fly, they also detect things while they're flying, so they'll fly over it and stuff. But the Mini and the Mini 2s don't. That's the only downfall about these drones. But hey, they're small, they're cute, and they're very portable. So yeah, I don't mind that. The next thing is we have descend. I'm not going to confirm that because I want my drone to return back to home as my setting. If you're flying over water and then you have it as descend, then it's just going to fall in the water. If you're flying over trees and you have it as descend, it's just going to, fall in the trees. And it's going to crash. So you don't really want that. I don't know if you're inspecting, roofs or something like that, maybe you want descend as a signal loss instead of having to return home. Maybe it might crash into something. But I don't think many people have that as their main setting. Next is hover. This is also an okay setting because when the signal is lost, it will just hover at where it is until it reconnects, and most of the time it does reconnect. So you might want to have hover as your primary setting, and this is only when the signal is lost, and your controller does a good job at warning you, signal's getting low, come back, so just listen to your controller or the bars that we mentioned earlier. Those are the bars right there. There's 5 full bars. Okay, so next we have the emergency propeller stop. So we can have it set to you set it inwards, like how you can manually start the props, or outwards. So either way, those also disable the drone. So if it's stuck in a certain area or something, and you might need it to just fall down, or maybe you flew up too high or something and you want it to come down extremely quickly, you can deactivate all the motors and it will just drop. So if you need that done for your drone, you can easily do that right there. The next setting under that is payload mode. So basically, when you activate this, it's telling the drone, hey, I might be adding some more weight to you. So if you're adding a beacon for flying at night, which is now illegal if you're a Part 107 drone license in US, you can fly at night, but you have to take the retest, or something like that, and you can fly at night, which is really cool because low light, you can get some great videos or footage with your drone. Anyways, for the payload mode, just basically lets the drone know that you're gonna be adding more weight on it. So it might rev up the motors a little bit more. And that's it for safety. So next we're going to go into control. Okay, and next we have the settings for control. So scroll all the way to the top. You have units. Right under that we have the front LED mode. Basically this enables and disables the Mini's front LEDs. So let me show you. I have it disabled because when I'm flying, it's not like I'm going to see my LEDs, so I just have them off. But hey, if you're going to just have fun with your drone and you can see it, show a little rainbow or something, or maybe if you're flying low, and your friends are watching you fly, this is something cool, to show them. Some people don't like it, but I'm not going to judge because it's a cute drone. It deserves a cute little LED, okay? So so that's rainbow right there. Next we have breathing, so it kind of goes bright and then dims, brights and dims. So that's that one. And we just have a solid color. So, and when you choose solid, you can actually go back and you can choose what kind of color you want. So instead of just white, you can have orange. Let me see if it shows that well. There you go. So there's orange. There's yellow, green, come on, there we go, purple. So there's many different colors you can choose for that. So just disable that and put this back down. Okay, and so next under that we have follow mode or FPV mode. So this basically will control the gimbal. So when you have it in FPV mode, when you turn to the right, the camera will essentially move with it. Whereas in follow mode, it's going to be stable. It's going to be still the whole entire time. When you move, it'll move kind of with the drone. And then FPV mode, when you turn this way with the drone, it will follow. So let me show you that right now. So in follow mode, let me point my camera down with the stick. So left, right, as you can see, it's all stable. Pretty stable. And in FPV mode, it will turn with the drone like that. So if you want to kind of get like a FPV feeling when you're flying your drone, then you can do that. Let me go back to follow mode because that's what I like. Okay, and next we have allow upward gimbal rotation. So if you have that off, it will go straight, and it'll only go straight and let you go down. So if you have that up, or if you have that turned on, you can go 20 degrees more. And I think they updated that because I used to be able to go 30 degrees up. But when I noticed when I was flying was when I did have it 30, it would shut back down to 20. So whether they had it at 30, it couldn't really support that, but they had that. So now they down that to 20, so you can go 20 degrees more up than just flat or horizontal. So this is where you can go into the advanced gimbal settings. So we'll go into that real quick, and this is normal mode. So currently on the controller, it's in the middle. When you slide it to the left and it makes that beep, it goes into cin mode or cinematic mode. If you go all the way to the right, you go into sport mode. So we're going to go back to the middle mode. And so this is going to be the pitch speed of the drone. So right now it's set to 35. If you up that, it's going to be faster. So let me go back and show you how fast this is going to be. So up, down, really fast. That's extremely fast. You know what, it can go faster. So this is the fastest it can go when it comes to speed. That's really fast. I mean, you don't really need to look down that fast. I mean, maybe for a certain thing, you need things to be really quick. So we can go back, or you can go down to say 10, and it's going to be slow now. So this is max. I have my finger to the max, and this for me is a little too slow. But if you are looking for that cinematic kind of feel and you want that to be your max when it comes to moving your gimbal, you can set that as your cinematic. So go back to the gimbal. Let me go back to 35 because I like to have 35 as my normal, and this is what 35 looks. It's a little bit fast, but it's not too slow. And to do that for your cin mode, you go all the way to the bottom, and you got cin smooth mode. So there you go, you got your speed. So you can have it go down to 10, and now when you switch to cin mode on your controller, then it will go that slow as we shared earlier. This is really good for, you know, maybe a reveal. You have it down, and then you reveal something like the ocean. And I have a lot of videos like that on my YouTube channel if you want to check those out as well. Next, we also have the smoothness, and I'll just go back up to normal mode, switch it back to normal mode on the controller, and go to pitch smoothness. So this is how smooth it's going to go up. So we're going to go all the way to 30. So it's going to be the same speed, 35, but it's going to be smoother. So when you let go, it kind of glides like that. So I have my controller off, I have my finger off, so let me show you what the camera sees, and show you my finger. So I'm holding it down and I let go and it's still gliding. Same when I go up and then I let go, it's still gliding. So that's what it means by the smoothness. If you don't have it to the smoothest, it's going to be a really harsh stop. So down on the controller, stop, up. So that's really, that's really harsh. So same speed, but it's not smooth. So we can go back to that and we can set that back to around 15. So when you go up and you release, there's a little bit of a stop. It's a little bit smoother. I like this as my normal, but for your sin mode, you might want it more smoother. So when you let go, it won't have really a harsh stop to it. Okay, next we have the remote controller settings. Right here it shows stick mode. So you can tap that. There's mode 1, mode 2, mode 3, or you can customize your own mode. So what this does is it changes the way you turn, the way you like ascend, you descend, going forward, left to right, or your yaw, right to left. So you get to choose what side you want that to be on, your left stick or your right stick. So for my mode 2, I have my all of my movements on my right hand side. Ooh, let me go back. I have my all my movements on my right hand side, but then my yaw, right and left, is on my left side, and then ascend and descend is also on my left side. So that is mode 2, and mode 1 is basically vice versa that. So all of that is on your right side. So if you want to change that, you can. If you want to ascend, go up, then you can have that to be on your right instead of on your left. And all your movement can be on the left side too. So those are the two most popular ones that people usually choose. And then mode 3 can be a little like flip-flop. So the yaw can be on the right, but then ascend and descend is also on the right. And then we have two new button customization. So if you tap it once, it will recenter the gimbal. So and you can also change that to follow or FPV mode. So we went over that already. You can change it so when you press this button, you can allow it to go into FPV mode when you tap it once. So it will follow, or tap it again, or be follow mode. And you also have those other settings as well. So recenter gimbal, that basically means when you press this button on the left hand side of your controller, this little button right here, it should say FN on it. So if you press that, it will recenter gimbal down, and then you press it again and then it'll go straight. So I have it tilted 20 degrees up for now. You can also set it to camera settings. So if you press it once, it'll just open straight to the camera settings. This could be useful if you want to change certain things right away, but I usually don't have it set to this. And then next is the A, E, and unlock, so the auto exposure. So you can also have that set when you press it once. So I usually have it set to the recenter gimbal. I never use the FPV mode, and I never open up my camera settings. And basically for the bottoms, the double tap, you can have it, have it do the FPV or follow, same thing, but just double tap it if you want a different setting. And then you have the RC calibration. You have to power off the aircraft to do this, and your phone will tell you through the controller if it needs calibration, but for now it doesn't. And then next to that, you have the flight tutorial, kind of like a short tutorial on how to actually fly the drone. So if you want to learn a little bit on how to do that. I think that's new with this update that DJI put in. And then lastly, we have the repair to aircraft with the link. So if it's not detecting this aircraft, or if you bought a different drone, have the same controller, or if you have a different controller and you have the same drone, you can press that to relink the controller to the drone. And that's all for the control panel of the settings on here. Next we'll go into camera, and next we have the camera settings. So right when you enter that, what's on the top is the video. So the video subtitles, you can have that on or off. So I usually have that set off, doesn't really matter. General, you have the histogram. So I think this is new that they added to the mini series and the Air series. So if you turn that on, it comes right here onto your main screen, and there's a bunch of tutorials out there on how to properly where you want your histogram set at. Basically, to the left and right, you have your brightest whites and your darkest blacks, and so you want to try to correct those as best as possible with messing with your settings manually, video or camera settings. Next is the overexposure warning. So I usually have that set on because you want to see where you're overexposed at. Some areas you just can't get it too low. It's just going to have to be overexposed. So if you do turn that off, you can see my blinds are blown out way too white. And so when you bring this into post, you're not going to be able to really darken those whites. It's going to be stuck just being pure white. The only way you can darken that is if you have your shutter speed higher or you have your ISO lower. So but yeah, it is very bright, so you're not going to be able to do that. If you were taking HDR photos though, you can. So that's just a little hint on when it comes to overexposed shots in your videos or photos. Next, we have the auto sync photos. So it will try its best to sync all the photos that you took from your drone to your phone so you can view it later. And if they don't all upload to your phone, then you can also go in and upload it yourself, and I'll teach you that later into this tutorial. And then next we have the grid lines. So with the grid lines, you can have like an X, and it will show up like that on your screen. You can have the X, or you can have the long lines going horizontal as well, or you can turn off the X and just have them horizontal. And then you also have a dot right in the middle, or sorry, a like plus sign right in the middle, so it shows you exactly where the center of your video is. Or you can have all three on. Next we have the white balance, so you can change it from manual to auto, and they'll basically, you know, go colder or go more warmer. So I'll bring that back to what I think looks best, which is about 5700K. Next is the SD card, so it shows you how much the total capacity is, which is 119. This is a 128 gig card, so it's a little bit less than that. And then how much you have available. So 93 gigs available left on this card. Next we have catch when recording. So when you have this enabled right there, let me turn it off. When you have that enabled, it's going to catch the video to your phone. So basically when you're up and flying, it will show a down res version. Basically what you see on your phone while you're flying, it will just record what's on your screen, and it will save that to your phone. So if you do have signal interference and so it cuts up a little bit, it will still save that to your phone. But let alone on your drone with the SD card, it will capture the original. So that's really what you want, is what's on your SD card on your drone. and not to use the footage on your catch. But it's nice to go back and see what footage that you've already seen without having to take out your SD card and transferring it to your phone. So you can also set the max video catch capacity. So I have it at 4. So anything after 4 on my phone, it deletes it for me automatically. So you can go all the way up to auto, basically means infinite. You have to delete it yourself. So if you have a big job, I would do 16 gigs or auto if you're going to be recording or taking a lot of photos a lot. But if you're just doing it recreational and you don't really care about seeing it right there and then you can just do 2 or 4. It's up to you. It's your own preference. And then after that, we reset the camera parameters. So everything camera related to from your aircraft, it will reset those. Everything, all the settings basically, it will reset that for your camera. So that is it for all of the camera settings. Next, we'll go into the transmission. Okay, now we're in the transmission side. So the first thing you see at the top is the frequency, and you have 3 options. You can do dual band, you can do just the 2.4 gigahertz, or the 5.8 gigahertz. So with the 5.8, basically this is good when you want to fly close to you, like really close, and get shots, kind of high above you. And with the 2.4, this is basically going to go as far as possible with less bandwidth. So dual band, it will set both of those, and if you have the channel mode set to auto, it'll automatically do it for you. So DJI already has it set really good already for when it comes to sending that video footage to your phone, and also the transmission link from the controller to the drone when flying. They already do a great job. You can go manual if you want to customize that a little bit, but I would only prefer doing that if you're flying more closely to yourself. But if you're flying far away, DJI already has it set really great, and you won't get transmission link failure from far away. Okay, so that about wraps it up for this video. It's going to be really long if I keep going, so I'm just going to make a part 2 for you guys. It's already taking me a day and a half to not only make this video but to edit it, so it would be really nice if you guys can subscribe and like the video, and comment also what you think I'm missing in this video that can improve it. I can add it to the description if I do know anything I have missed throughout this part 1 of this video. So in the second video, I'll go throughout the photo modes, and I'll also take the drone out in the field and show you what different photo modes it has when capturing certain things like a panorama, 360, things like that. And also the about section, there's not much in there, but I'll also go through that too. So until the next video, please subscribe, and I'll see you then. Oh, by the way, if you don't know where the second video is, you can go to my YouTube channel and check out the playlist. It's going to be in a playlist under DJI videos or tutorials. So, okay.